and welcome back to a Fleetyards mission briefing, guys. We look at any sort of ship, station, random cool thing from the tremendously varied sci-fi universes out there, kind of like Doctor Who, picking and choosing what cool alien race to look at today. And today, Stuart, I think you know this ship. I think you might have a personal knowledge of this ship. It might be closer than you think. Hint.
Might be.
Hint. What are we doing today?
Today we are going to be taking a look at the Mark II Viper. Check this out. This is actually the Eagle Moss version of the ship, which is fantastic. It's a great model. If you guys are interested, you can get this model as well. There's a link in the description below to it, the Eagle Moss site. You can check it out, and if you use the code Trekyards, you get 10% off any orders of $60 or more. So check it out. This is really worth getting, guys. This is awesome. Check out my review of it. Be coming out very soon.
And these are the extra big ones, the extra big detail, which makes a lot of sense because the Star Trek models are from the 90s and 2000s. This is from sort of mid to late, or mid 2000s, but the detail level in the 3D stuff is so much higher, and that really comes across in these big models. And we're so thankful to be sponsored by Eagle Moss and to get to see these ships. So I forgot we actually had these when I was preparing these renders, so it's kind of like good timing. But yes, the Viper Mark II from the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series, I believe started in 2004, to sort of, well, the best reboot while being faithful and yet not. And obviously you were a big fan of the original BSG.
Yes, I was.
I
gotta say, I love the Viper Mark II because it's very reminiscent and very similar to the original Vipers, which are awesome.
And I was conceptually a fan of the old one. Like, I've seen bits, but I never liked something because it wasn't on TV here, so I didn't get a chance to actually watch it. But I love the designs, I like the characters, but I haven't actually seen any episodes specifically. So when this one came out, I mean, I think it blew everyone away with how good the show is. And we've got some great renders here. We've got some scale stuff with BSG, not BSG, and other details of the original 3D model to enjoy, which you can get the Eagle Moss is based off of for full accuracy. So you sort of said what you think, but I mean, what do you think when you first saw this ship in the new show? Did you watch it when it came out? Did you watch the miniseries like as a new thing, or did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I haven't even watched the whole series yet, to be honest. Me and Sylvia started watching it, just haven't got around to watching the whole thing. But I know exactly what happens. I know the storyline. I know all that. So nothing's going to really surprise me, unfortunately. But that's all right. I mean, I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. But when I first saw this, I was like, you got to be shitting me. That is the most awesome, reimagined, rebooted, faithful. That's an homage to the original. That's beautiful. And it simply is. I mean, it's just, this is how you reboot something and reimagine it and make it new, but at the same time maintain that classic vibe. So
it is so sleek.
Viper.
It's so sleek and pretty.
Yeah,
like it really is. And it is just about moving the shapes and tweaking it a bit. Yeah, so I watched a miniseries with. Oh, this could be interesting. And this was a golden age of sci-fi for me because we had Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, Star Trek Enterprise, and BSG. And I remember watching those on 2 nights a week. Literally 3 shows and then one next day, and that was just the best time for sci-fi because those shows were tremendous, all of them, and the effects were getting great and the characters were great, really really good time. And so this show, I mean, it was great from the get-go, and it had sort of some weaker ends bits, but in the first 2 seasons of the miniseries are superb beyond sort of belief, and this is a really excellent design. And so let's look at it. But Stuart,
yes,
as we've always asked, the scale. And this is kind of unfair because I've used a ship as a scale thing for every other Fleetyard scale we've ever done, so you should know it by now. But the scale, I mean, what do you think? I mean, it's a fighter, but
yeah, I mean, as you said, it's a fighter. I mean, it's basically X-wing size-ish. The X-wing's a little bit bigger because just the way it's laid out. But I know the X-wing's not on here. I know, but I gotta say, for a one-person fighter, this is fine. And I love that about Battlestar Galactica, the way they everything's realistic. I mean, as far as a fighter design goes, or a jet fighter, this is, it's not too big, it's not too bulky, it's just perfect. And so I really appreciate the size that they have this. So
yeah, having done a lot of these scale charts, this ship is always the smallest, and that's amazing. It is actually quite a lot smaller than an X-wing. It's a lot smaller than the Gunstar, a lot smaller than the Star Fury, because it literally is the most minimal cockpit with the engines right on your back, and it's everything you need in the absolute smallest crammed in bundle. It's just power on your back and guns on your forward. There's nothing else that's designed in terms of size, and so it really reflects that it's so small. So the next picture is a really great shot I did for the Raptor episode we did. I mean, it's the smallest of everything in the year, although you can see quite close to the Blackbird, and you can see how much bigger the Cylon ships are, and even how much bigger the Evolution version is. The Mark 7, I believe, is the silver one. So it is tiny. You know, as a fighter, it is very, very small. Although it's not meant to be the one from the original series, it is, because that version does also exist in the timeline. Because it's the Mark 2, that's the Mark 1. So there was a pre-Cylon War and a pre-Viper, and there's a whole lot of Vipers.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I love the way they tied those in.
Yeah, because in the museum shot, in the miniseries, there is the original Cylon Raider, the original Battlestar Viper, literally the originals. So they do exist as the very first designs of the Cylon War. But as you can see, this one's pretty small. But compared to other ships, though, Stuart, the next picture, I mean, the Runabout is an overly big craft, but you can see these are, good fighter, good tactical crafts of their eras. And even like this Type 9, which you consider would be a small ship, this is just absolutely minuscule.
Yeah. Yeah, because you wouldn't think that would be that small compared to a Runabout, but runabouts carry 4 people in the cockpit comfortably. And if you scale the size of that cockpit and compare it to the window on the Runabout, you can imagine a person sitting in the Runabout, so it's fine. Same with the Gunstar. I mean, the Gunstar has two operators, one pilot and one
with lots of room. I mean, they're not crammed in.
Yeah. And then the speedboat shuttle. I mean, I always thought the speedboat shuttles were pretty small for Trek, but yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It's not a huge shuttle, obviously. It's not like the small shuttle pod from TNG, the Type 15. But still, I mean, it works. And like I said, it's a realistic scale. It's not too much of anything. Like you said, it's perfect. You got your power on your back and the guns on the front. That's all you need in a fighter. So I think it's awesome. Yeah,
I mean, the Type 9 has a cabin you can walk around in. Enough said. And the Star Fury is a stand-up ship. And while it's got very, very clever engine mechanics, it's using more advanced thrust. BSG it's like they have space tech, but also they're still using everything bullets. So it's an interesting in between. So it is just 3 jet engines and some cannons that have bullets, and you can run out of ammo. So it's much more simplistic. Side view, same thing again. You can really see it is. This is what I mean. It is a tremendously efficient design. And okay, sure, it's not going to be able to compete with anything on this list, anything on this page by. Hands down, it's just shooting. I think also explosive rounds, so it's still a little punch, but it's only really going to be good at other fighter craft that don't have shields. If you were able to refit it with lasers, then I'd love to see that. But in terms of speed and maneuverability, it's going to be so efficient compared to these other things.
Yeah. Again, I think with the side view here, it does seem very small, but when you actually start comparing human sizes to that, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So no issues with that at all. Now let's look at some of the details on this thing. This model is fantastic. First of all, I love the weathering on it. As a model builder, I just love the weathering on this 3D model. The engines, they're powerful. I mean, they say power. They're huge.
Inside the engines.
Yes. Oh yeah, they actually. Anyway, but this is a great little ship and a lot of thrust. I mean, those 3 engines are huge. So.
Well, I mean, they have to tell you, beware of blast. I mean, it's on the ship.
Just like modern day fighters, they have the same thing: beware of blast, no step, don't step here, kind of thing. So that's another level of realism that they brought to Battlestar Galactica that just makes sense.
Yeah. And I always appreciated these are old in the show, old. So these are, most of them are museum pieces. Like, they're using a couple because they had to, but most of them are museum pieces. So you can see an open circuitry piece that really should have a hatch
cover.
Yeah. And they're not going to repaint them every week. So I mean, it was fun to see them battered and bruised, and these ships have true history, and the design and the flow reflects that. The next picture is a bottom view. I mean, you can see, I know some people said the Eagles is very simple, but I mean, there's nothing on the bottom, doesn't need to be, very faithful. But that's a great view. I mean, is there a bad angle of this ship?
Not really, no. This is one of those designs that just speaks well to, Yeah. It's because they followed the original, and the original's so perfect in my opinion. But that's because I grew up with it. So I mean,
Yeah, and then just sleeked it.
Now, what are those 3 things on the bottom there at the front? Are they?
Well, I was about to talk to those. Yeah, there's so many little holes for the exhaust for the thrusting. I mean, they need as much, altitude control. Yeah,
attitude.
There's holes everywhere because they go forwards and then that's how. That's quite a good version of it because that's it's such a light small craft that
And Star Trek has the RCS thrusters, which are the exact same things. Now, are those big ones on the bottom RCS thrusters?
Like, it's all the same thing.
For
it just
slowing
allows
them down?
No, because it doesn't slow down per se. It has to do a flip to slow down. I mean, that's momentum for you. It's just to allow them to do these big, wide moves, Because think about it. If you're coming at you do a side. You do like one of the side ones to do like that. That pushes you up, and now you're doing a turn. So I mean, you kind of want that nice push at your front.
Physics.
Yes. I mean, think about it. If you're in a dogfight, if everyone has forward-facing guns, if you can suddenly do a flip and face your opponent and shoot as well, that sudden ability is actually going to be super useful, especially in no gravity.
Yeah, in modern day fighter jets, they have a maneuver that's similar, but it's called the split S. Basically, it's to turn yourself the other direction really quick. But yeah, in space it'd be a lot simpler just to swing it around. So yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
good old G's. The next picture is just kind of a beauty picture of it. Again, has such a lot of character. It does look pretty.
And not very big, not too much going on, just perfect. And I would be I'm claustrophobic as it is, so I mean, sitting in that cockpit might be a little much for me.
But you got the open space,
especially in space.
You've got the openness,
especially in space, you can't get out. I mean, you can't
that's true.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it ties in beautifully with modern day fighter jets as far as the cockpit layout as well, which I really like. So.
And I will say, this has got a very interesting design history. And we've got a guest coming on either soon or has already come on, which is sort of unhelpful. But you'll know the guest. That was a huge part of this design and other parts. So, yeah, we'll talk about designing this ship at some point because it's such a classic. But let's look at some other little detail things. The next picture is that great fan Viper comparison of all the different, or at least most of the different versions, with a fan design one and one of the video games, a different video game, and the original and the new. And I just wanted to show the because finding accurate pictures is kind of difficult, but I thought I'd go with this one because it's a good comparison of the 2 right-hand ones. Just sort of show you the comparison. Also, we'll look at this again later down the line. But yeah, that's sort of a direct comparison. Very similar, yet when you put them side by side, I do think the old one looks a lot bulkier. Like it looks, it feels like they couldn't use the same refined creating techniques in miniatures. Whereas the new one, it's not limited by that. They can build CG, they can build it in physical. Like it's got that flexibility that the first one didn't have. I mean, what do you think now, seeing them side by side?
Well, I love the design lineage. I mean, even the Mark III and stuff. I do like the fan-designed reimagined Mark II. I mean, I think that fits in a little bit better with the Mark, with the original, the aesthetics. Yeah, the aesthetics that we're looking at. I like that.
It looks too Tiberium shuttle, like too pushed out.
If you say that, yeah. I guess.
Like the balance on the original is so good, actually, with it not being put, and it's so easy to push it too far. Whereas the design concept, DeSanto concept, that pushing everything out makes it feel bulkier, but it still has a sort of a flow. Although that's Viper Scorpion BG game at the bottom looks kind of cool. It's like a futuristic version, which is weird because these are all well, it's not, but
I gotta say I'm not really a fan of the Mark VII.
Oh really?
I'm just not. I don't like the aesthetics of it. I'm sorry, Eric Chu. I love Eric Chu. He's a great designer, but the looks of that ship just, I'm not a huge fan. When I first saw Battlestar was coming back, and whatever, I saw that Viper, and I'm like, oh, I'm out. I can't even watch it. So, I'm not a fan.
I'm kind of confused. It says DeSanto concept reject, given that is the original. Bit confused by that, but I mean, we'll get onto that one at a later day. I just wanted to compare the two. We'll do a full comparison breakdown to show I just need to find a really accurate version of the original Mark II, because that's got the original Mark II from BSG new one. I'm not sure of the original, or at least a close for the other one. But a couple of little cool visuals I just wanted to share for this episode. The next picture is it's a really cool launch tube, because they actually had to be launched properly, and it's a military craft. They had to be fighter launched, and then coming back to the hangar deck sort of safely. But it was such a cool visual. They had to build this as a set, and it's cool.
And again, holding true to the original Battlestar Galactica with the launch tubes shaped like that and stuff. It was just a fantastic way to reimagine a show. So bravo to those guys.
And the next picture is the CG version. Just such a cool thing to see them. And yes, if you're the next picture, so you can see the pod. I mean, same as the original, fires out the end. And we've looked at Pegasus, different pods. You can see exactly where they come out of and the scale and such. And this is just a cool picture of the two. Also, you can see it firing its little bullet projectiles, because it's very sort of modernistic. I mean, this would wreck shop nowadays, because you can also put missiles on them. That they're not limited to. It's just more of a weight thing. But these are wreck shop in modern. Well, I guess they're probably more designed for space. So there are. We've seen them in atmosphere as well, but I think a less efficient atmosphere because of the gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have very big wing surfaces, so I mean, agility in the atmosphere would be difficult. But
next picture, though, first picture. Closing thoughts, Stuart, on this. I'll give my closing thoughts first. Just a truly classic design based on a truly classic design.
That's my thoughts exactly. Like I said, this is reimagining a franchise properly, holding true to the original, giving it an homage, but still making it new enough that it's different. And I think that's fantastic the way they did this. And don't forget, guys, if you want your own, click the Eagle Moss link in the description below. Go check out Eagle Moss, and if you want to get a discount, use the discount code Trekyards, all one word.
And if you're a fan, you do want one of these, because I really knew I wanted these, but getting it, I mean, just opening up, your first reaction is, damn, that's big.
Yep, that's the first thing I thought. It's actually the same size as the old model kits. I've got
Nice.
the original Battlestar Viper model kit. It's the same size. I compared them on my one captain's log. They're the exact same. So
nice. Yeah, and I'm excited to see more of their models and hopefully look at them on this show as well and watch Stuart's review. But there you go. That's another Fleetyards for you. Much requested ship and one of the true classics of our time. And we've got more great ships coming up on Mission Briefing on Fleetyards that we are going to look at to review, discuss, theorise about these cool classics. If you want to support this show, you can obviously like, subscribe, and share. That's a big deal. People don't know about the show until you tell people about the show. And look at these great new renders, these great new scale shots, and hopefully a new perspective. Sometimes we're just saying nice things about it. But the scale stuff we're really proud of for these shows. Right. So support, share, like, subscribe, and make sure to click that bell notification. And that is my spiel over and done with.
And don't forget to check out the Fleetyards page over on Facebook. We got a cool discussion group there. Lots of cool ships being shared and fun stuff. And if you want to support the show and help us out on a regular basis, you can do so by heading over to Patreon, Patreon/Trekyards, or click the link in the description below to go over there and help us on a monthly basis. Or head on over to Trekyards.com, click the donate button, and you can give us one-time donation. Or another thing that really helps us out, again, is clicking that Eagle Moss link and going to check out their stuff. And if you want to buy something and you want to save some money, by all means use our code, because that helps us out and you as well. So we're all about that. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
I am Commander Cockpit, and we're zooming out.
Right, I already put mine back in the box.
That's fine. Just zoom the box towards the camera, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bye.
Bye, guys.